Peter and the Pocket Guide to Hunting Vampires and Other Demon-like Creatures. Episode 7, The Lost Boys by Rich von Halt. Pete drove the mob car through the night, his hands gripping the steering wheel. Luigi sat in the passenger seat, while Angelo, Niccolo, and Sergio occupied the back seat. Sergio, the thinner of the two, was sandwiched in the middle. Angelo, seated behind Pete, munched on a meatball sub as Frank Sinatra's My Way crooned from the radio. "Angelo, did you have to bring a sandwich to eat in the car?" Pete asked, his eyes flickering to the rearview mirror. "What? I didn't have lunch today," Angelo protested, his mouth full. Luigi scoffed. "We ate at Big Louie's." "I had a salad," Angelo countered. "That's lunch," Luigi retorted. Pete chuckled, shaking his head. "You guys." He glanced over his shoulder. "Just don't get any sauce on the seats, huh?" "Uh-oh." Angelo's voice held a note of panic. "Angelo!" Pete's tone sharpened. "I got it, Pete." Angelo's words were muffled as he attempted to contain the mess. The sandwich had betrayed him, squirting marinara sauce all over his white and red Hawaiian shirt. He scooped up the errant sauce with his finger and popped it into his mouth. But a glaring red stain remained, a testament to his culinary misadventure. Sergio and Niccolo skewered him with death stares, their eyes narrowing in silent disapproval. Pete's gaze found Angelo's in the rearview mirror, a mixture of exasperation and disbelief. "Ah, Angelo, out of all the sandwiches, you get the meatball, why?" Pete's question hung in the air, tinged with frustration. Angelo stuffed the last bit of the sandwich into his mouth, his cheeks bulging as he chewed. He swallowed, then grinned. "Because it's delicious." He burst into song, his voice slightly off-key. "And I did it my way." The car sped on through the night, the tension palpable. Angelo's shirt bore the evidence of his culinary mishap, a scarlet badge of shame. Sergio and Niccolo's silent judgment weighed heavily in the air, while Pete's grip on the steering wheel tightened, his knuckles whitening. The strains of Sinatra's voice continued to fill the car, an ironic soundtrack to the unfolding drama. Niccolo heaved the trunk shut with a resounding thud. Sergio lit a cigarette, the ember glowing in the dark. Pete hauled the dumpster back, wheeling it into the cave's maw. High above the cave, Kirill and Itzy perched on the rocks, observing the Italian men. The young-looking vampires were clad in black long-sleeve shirts, long wool coats, blue jeans, and dress shoes, their pants cuffed at the bottom. Inside the vampire cave, Pete rolled the dumpster in, greeted by Sandor at the door. "Hey, Sandor, I'm just bringing this back in." Sandor cracked the door open. "You good to take it back yourself?" "Yeah, I remember the way." "Okay, good." Pete hesitated. "Hey, by the way, did my dad stop by earlier?" "Yeah, he left before you showed up." "Okay, but you know what's funny? We didn't see anyone on the road when we were coming in." Sandor shrugged, his face a mask of ignorance. He swung the door open, revealing the pulsating beat of dance music. In the main room, hundreds of candles cast a flickering glow over the writhing bodies of dancers. Pete skirted the outer edge, his gaze drawn to Dasco, shirtless and clad in black leather pants, lounging on a throne at the center of the room. Pete pushed the dumpster down the hallway to the storage room. A door stood slightly ajar ahead. After stowing the dumpster, he crept towards the open door. Inside the closet-like room, illuminated by a single candle, sat Lily, bound to a wooden chair, her mouth duct-taped and eyes blindfolded. Milena materialized from behind the door, her face a hair's breadth from Pete's. Outside, Niccolo and Sergio rearranged the bodies in the trunk. Luigi puffed on a cigarette while Angelo swigged from a flask. Pete burst from the cave, terror etched on his face. "Guys! Guys, we gotta get out of here! Now!" Kirill and Itzy, witnessing Pete's horror, leaped from the high rocks, landing between Pete and his companions. Niccolo and Sergio slammed the trunk shut. Sergio lunged for the back seat, retrieving 2 wooden baseball bats. He tossed one to Niccolo. Luigi and Angelo exchanged worried glances. The vampires turned to the men, baring their fangs. Niccolo and Sergio advanced, bats at the ready. Kirill and Itzy soared skyward, then plummeted towards them. The bats sliced through empty air as the vampires evaded the swings, The vampires targeted Luigi and Angelo, who cowered at the front of the car. Kirill's fangs plunged into Luigi's neck, his body slumping lifeless. Izzy seized Angelo, hoisting him aloft and sinking his teeth into his neck. Instantly, Izzy's mouth ignited, and he dropped Angelo onto Niccolo and Sergio. Pete sprinted for the car, diving into the driver's seat and gunning the engine. As Niccolo and Sergio shoved Angelo's body off them, Kirill and Izzy descended, their fangs finding purchase in their necks. Pete wrenched the wheel, the car's tail swinging in a wide arc as he sped towards the main road. Kirill and Izzy, their mouths dripping with Niccolo and Sergio's blood, looked up, watching as Pete's taillights vanished into the night. Pete gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm in his chest. His eyes darted to the rearview mirror, searching for any sign of pursuit, before snapping back to the road ahead. Through the passenger window, he caught a glimpse of Izzy's piercing stare as the vampire flew alongside the car. Pete stomped on the accelerator, the engine roaring in response. To his left, Kirill appeared, matching the car's speed. Pete's hand shot out, cranking the window up, a flimsy barrier against the supernatural threat. He pushed the pedal harder, the car surging forward. As he neared the main road, the glare of headlights flooded his vision. A semi-truck barreled towards him from the opposite direction. The vampires, sensing the impending collision, soared upwards, retreating to the safety of the cave. Pete's eyes flicked to the rearview mirror, watching as the vampires dwindled to mere specks in the distance. A shuddering breath escaped his lips, and he allowed his eyes to drift shut for a moment, relief washing over him. The blare of a horn jolted him back to reality. His eyes flew open, widening in horror as the semi-truck loomed directly in front of him, its lights flashing a warning. In his momentary lapse, Pete had drifted into the wrong lane. A scream tore from his throat. Ah! He wrenched the wheel hard to the left, the car veering off the road, tires spitting dirt and gravel. The vehicle spun, the world outside the windows blurring into a dizzying kaleidoscope of light and shadow. The car shuddered to a stop, facing the same direction as the retreating semi-truck. In the sudden stillness, Pete's headlights cut through the darkness, the only illumination on the deserted road. His chest heaved, his shirt drenched in sweat, his heart slamming against his ribs like a caged animal desperate for escape. With trembling hands, he reached for the door handle, his stomach churning. Before he could stumble from the car, a wave of nausea overtook him, and he doubled over, retching violently, the acrid stench of vomit mingling with the tang of fear in the air. Peter reclined in the lazy boy, engrossed in his book, The Pocket Guide for Hunting Vampires and Other Demon-like Creatures. The soft rustle of pages mingled with the quietude of the living room as he read, clad in his pajamas. If bitten by multiple vampires over the course of time, you will inherit vampire-like symptoms, he murmured, his voice a hushed whisper in the stillness. He paused, letting the words sink in before continuing. Sunlight will start blinding you. Your skin will burn, but you will not die. Your body will ache. Your fingernails will harden and be unbreakable. Your body will shiver while sleeping. The only way to stop it will be to sleep in a secluded space in pure darkness. Another beat of silence, heavy with the weight of the revelation. Every day, food will upset your stomach. Your craving for iron will increase. His voice dropped to a whisper, the words a chilling prophecy. You will not grow fangs without a ceremony taking place. You will not be a full vampire without the demonic spirits entering your body. Peter snapped the book shut, his hand instinctively reaching for his neck, his fingers tracing the scars of previous bites. A sudden, insistent knocking shattered the silence. Peter's gaze snapped to the door as the knocks continued, a frantic staccato against the wood. Peter, it's me, Pete. Open up, please. The voice from outside was unmistakable, tinged with desperation. Peter rose from the recliner, his movements cautious as he approached the window. With a tentative hand, he lowered the blinds, peering through the slats. Outside, Pete paced, his face etched with anxiety, his clothes drenched in sweat. The door swung open, and Pete stumbled inside. Oh, thank God. In the living room, Pete paced back and forth, his movements erratic. Peter secured the door, the lock clicking into place. We need to go back to the cave, Pete blurted out, his voice tight with urgency. Peter shook his head vehemently. "Oh no, I'm not going back. I've been reading this book, and to kill these vampires, you have to strike them in the heart or brain." "Never mind that book, Peter. We have to go back. I don't want to, believe me. I just got back from there." Peter's brow furrowed. "What do you mean you just got back from there?" "We got called to do another pickup, and in the process—" Pete's voice trailed off as he continued to pace, his steps a frenzied rhythm on the floor. "What, Pete? What happened?" Peter's voice rose, tinged with impatience and fear. "Well, to be short, they killed the guys and what, Pete? They got Lily." The words hung in the air, a suffocating weight. Peter's eyes widened, his voice a hoarse whisper. "What? What do you mean they got Lily?" "They killed the guys, Peter." Pete's voice cracked, the horror of the memory etched in every syllable. "I heard you. Why did they have Lily?" "I don't know. But when I saw her, a woman vampire appeared out of nowhere and showed me her fangs. I ran out of there, and that's when it happened." Silence stretched between them, a gulf filled with unspoken fears and mounting dread. Peter's jaw set, determination hardening his features. "Okay, I have just the weapon." He strode towards his bedroom, purpose in every step. "Weapon? Peter, what weapon?" Pete called after him, confusion and apprehension warring in his voice. In the bedroom, Peter reached beneath his bed, his hands closing around the familiar shape of his bow and arrows. He hefted them onto the bed, the weapons a comforting weight in his grasp. Pete appeared in the doorway, his eyes widening at the sight. "Peter, what are you talking about?" His gaze fell on the bow and arrows, realization dawning. "Whoa, Peter, what is that?" "This may be our savior," Peter declared, his voice steady with conviction. He placed the arrows in their case, his movements precise and deliberate. "Give me a second, Pete. I'm going to get dressed." "Ah, okay." Pete nodded, uncertainty etched on his face. "Go get your weapons ready," Peter instructed, his tone brooking no argument. "Yeah, sure, I'll do that. I'll just be out here." Pete backed out of the room, confusion swirling in his eyes. Peter donned his red and white Hawaiian shirt, the fabric a vibrant contrast to the dark brown vest he shrugged on over it. Khaki pants and black boots completed the ensemble, the laces pulled tight with a sense of purpose. In the hallway, Pete ventured into Mom's room, flicking on the lights. The bed stood perfectly made, a silent sentinel in the empty space. "Hey, where's your mom, Peter?" Pete called out, his voice echoing in the stillness. "I don't know. I got home, and she wasn't here." Peter's voice drifted from the bedroom, tinged with uncertainty. "Strange," Pete muttered to himself, his gaze drawn to the crucifix hanging above the bed. In the kitchen, Pete gathered his makeshift weapons, the crucifix and garlic cloves clutched in his hands. He rummaged through the cabinets, pulling out garlic powder, onion powder, and cayenne pepper, the containers clattering against the countertop. Moving to the dining room, Pete added the seasonings and cloves of garlic to his growing arsenal. He rifled through a side table, his fingers brushing against a bundle of knitting needles. "Jackpot," he breathed, a glimmer of hope igniting in his chest. In the bedroom, Peter stood at his desk, the bow gripped in one hand, the case of arrows slung across his shoulder. His gaze fell upon the picture of him and his dad, a bittersweet reminder of happier times. He reached out, his fingers curling around the frame, lifting it gently. "Dad, I'm lost without you," he confessed, his voice a hoarse whisper in the stillness. "I haven't seen or talked to Mom in a while. I met this girl I really like, and everything has flipped upside down after you died." He paused, the silence heavy with unspoken emotions. "If I can ask for your help, that would be great. Please give me the strength and the courage to get through this. I know I wasn't the perfect son, but right now, I need you with me to protect me." Peter pressed his lips to the picture, a silent plea for guidance, before setting it back on the desk. He turned towards the door, his steps measured and deliberate. At the threshold, he glanced back, his eyes lingering on the image of his father. "Oh, and protect Pete too. I really like him. Thanks, Dad. In the living room, Pete reclined in the lazy boy, engrossed in the pocket guide for hunting vampires and other demon-like creatures. On his lap, an assortment of makeshift weapons lay scattered. A crucifix, knitting needles, garlic cloves, and an array of seasonings. Peter strode into the room, his attire a testament to his newfound purpose. The bow rested comfortably in his hand, the arrows a reassuring presence on his back. Pete's eyes widened, his gaze sweeping over Peter's transformed appearance. Whoa. He held up the book, a questioning look on his face. Can I bring this? Peter's eyes darted to the items on Pete's lap. What's on your lap? A crucifix from your mom's room, Pete replied, his voice tinged with determination. And some garlic cloves. Peter's brow furrowed. And seasonings? Yeah, just in case. Peter arched an eyebrow. In case of what? Are we making a sauce? Pete gathered the items, rising from the recliner with a sense of purpose. When I run out of the cloves, I'll use the seasonings. Then what? Knit them a sweater? Peter quipped, a hint of amusement in his tone. Very funny, Peter, Pete retorted, sarcasm dripping from his words. They moved towards the exit, their steps in sync, a shared determination propelling them forward. All right, I see you got the cayenne pepper. Good choice, Peter acknowledged, a nod of approval. Hey, my mother used this stuff on a lot of things and it burns, Pete countered, a hint of pride in his voice. The mob car raced through the night, Peter at the wheel, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. Beside him, Pete sat in the passenger seat, his nose buried in the book, the radio silent. Look right here, Pete said, his voice cutting through the stillness. It says crosses, garlic, stake in the heart, and daylight are what we know about killing vampires. He turned to Peter, excitement gleaming in his eyes. See? Good thing I brought the garlic. Let's see what else is in here. Pete scrolled through the pages, his finger tracing the words. The bodies left for dead have to be dismembered and disposed of completely. If not, they may come back from the dead as a zombie-like creature. He paused, his eyes widening in disbelief. What? Zombies? You've got to be kidding me! Peter's nose wrinkled, a pungent odor invading the car. What's that smell? Pete's gaze snapped up from the book, realization dawning. In an open field, the car's trunk yawned open, revealing the grim contents within. Peter recoiled, his hand flying to his nose to block the stench. There's a lot of them, he remarked, his voice muffled. Let's just be quick, Pete urged, determination etched on his face. They grabbed shovels, the metal blades biting into the earth as they dug. One by one, they hauled the bodies from the trunk, tossing them into the freshly dug grave. Oh, we forgot to cut them up, Pete realized, his brow furrowing. Peter shrugged, a hint of uncertainty in his voice. It'll be fine. I don't think anything will happen. But what about the book? Pete persisted, worry creasing his forehead. It said zombie-like. Maybe it's not actually zombies, Peter reasoned, his tone unconvincing. Peter, if we start having zombies in the world, I'm blaming you, Pete warned, his voice laced with apprehension. The car rumbled to a stop at the entrance of the vampire cave, the headlights piercing the darkness. High atop the rocks, 10 young-looking vampires perched, their eyes glinting with malice. Inside the car, Peter killed the engine, the sudden silence deafening. He turned to Pete, his expression grave. Are you ready? Yeah. Pete nodded, his grip tightening on the book. Do you have anything else besides my mom's stuff? Peter asked, a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. Pete's hand reached into the back seat, emerging with an axe, the blade gleaming in the moonlight. Of course, Peter. I have this. Relief washed over Peter's face. Oh, thank God. They stepped out of the car, their weapons at the ready. The vampires launched themselves from the rocks, diving towards them with terrifying speed, their fangs bared in anticipation of the impending battle.